I started having panic attacks. I did not feel comfortable. I didn't want to go to Hollywood. I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be a star, certainly.
Goldie Hawn was once Hollywood's golden girl. Every smile, every laugh, a reminder of the joy she brought to the world. But behind that glow was a truth no one wanted to see. Fame didn't just lift her up, it nearly broke her. From crippling anxiety that haunted her 20s to the heartbreaking reality of aging in an industry obsessed with youth, Goldie's journey has been anything but the carefree image she sold on screen. Now, at 79, the way she lives is a mix of strength and sadness, marked by health struggles, quiet battles, and raw honesty the cameras never showed. Stick with us, because her story will change the way you remember her.
There's a wrong bell, I ring it. A wrong note, I sing it. Nobody does it like me. If there's a problem, I duck it. I don't solve it, just muck it up. Nobody does it like me. I got me two left feet when one is north, the other south. It's hard to put your best foot forward when that foot is in your mouth. If there's a wrong way to know it all, a wrong time to blow it all, nobody does it like me.
From the very beginning, Goldie Hawn was unlike anyone else. She wasn't chasing fame, fortune, or Hollywood stardom. She just wanted to be happy. That was her answer, even as a little girl, when adults asked what she wanted to be when she grew up. While other kids said a doctor or a teacher, Goldie would smile and say, happy. People laughed at the simplicity of it, but she was dead serious. Happiness, to her, wasn't just a dream. It was her purpose.
Is something I've always kept primo in my mind. Premier happiness. That any unhappiness that I was experiencing, I'll either learn for it or walk away from it.
Born in Washington, D.C., in November of 1945, Goldie Jean Hawn grew up surrounded by music and movement. Her father, Edward, was a band musician who filled the house with rhythm, while her mother, Laura, ran a dance school that became Goldie's second home. By the age of 3, she was already taking ballet and tap classes, her tiny feet keeping up with routines that other kids her age could barely follow. She wasn't pushed into it. She loved it. Dance gave her joy, a way to move through the world with freedom and lightness. By her teens, Goldie was determined to build a life on stage. At 19, she was dancing in the chorus line at the New York World's Fair, and before long, she was a go-go dancer in swinging 60s discotheques, shimmying in boots and short skirts under flashing lights. She stood out, not just because of her beauty, but because she radiated something unteachable, pure, infectious energy.
I don't think I ever really will grow up, not completely. It's very important to keep in touch with that child in yourself. Otherwise, life's a drag.
And then came the break that changed everything. In 1968, she was cast on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, a wild, fast-moving sketch comedy show that was unlike anything America had seen. It was psychedelic, chaotic, and hilarious, and Goldie became its brightest star. With her painted-on bikinis, wide-eyed innocence, and bubbly giggle, she was instantly unforgettable. Every week, millions of viewers waited to hear her deliver the line, "Sock it to me," with that mix of charm and mischief that only she could pull off. Overnight, Goldie Hawn was no longer a dancer in nightclubs. She was a household name. But here's the part the audience never saw. Behind those giggles and flashing smiles, Goldie was falling apart. The sudden leap from anonymity to worldwide fame was more terrifying than thrilling. She later admitted that she didn't know how to handle it. Anxiety crept in, overwhelming her in ways she didn't understand at the time. She suffered panic attacks so severe that she would get dizzy and disoriented in public places, forcing her to lock herself in dressing rooms just to breathe. "I tried to fake my smile," she confessed years later. "It was the scariest thing that ever happened to me." For fans, she was the dizzy blonde of television comedy, but privately, she was fighting for her sanity. Determined not to let the anxiety win, she began what she later called the University of Me, a personal journey into therapy and self-discovery that lasted nearly a decade. She read philosophy, explored psychology, and leaned into meditation, desperate to find answers to why her mind betrayed her at the height of success. And then, almost as quickly as she'd become a TV star, Hollywood gave her a chance to prove herself on the big screen. Just 2 seasons into Laugh-In, she landed a role in the 1969 romantic comedy Cactus Flower, acting alongside Walter Matthau and Ingrid Bergman.
Do you always stand up there like that?
Nobody around here loves Mr. because
Her character, a free-spirited but troubled young woman, was a revelation. Critics couldn't believe that the goofy, painted bikini girl from television had such depth, wit, and timing. Goldie shocked everyone, including herself, when she won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. And here's the twist that makes the story even more Goldie. She wasn't even at the ceremony. Filming another movie in London, she didn't think she had a chance of winning and actually forgot about the awards that night. At 4 in the morning, she was woken by a phone call telling her she had just won an Oscar. She later laughed about the absurdity of it, but deep down, she always regretted missing the moment. Her idol, Fred Astaire, had been the one to open the envelope and announce her name. Instead, Raquel Welch accepted the award on her behalf. To this day, that Oscar, her ticket to superstardom, sits quietly in her bedroom closet, tucked away rather than displayed like a prize. That little detail says so much about Goldie Hawn. She never chased statues or validation, she chased joy. And yet, the Oscar changed her life forever. Practically overnight, she went from being a TV personality to a bankable movie star, opening the door to one of the most successful film careers of the 1970s and 80s. But with that newfound fame came even more pressure, choices that would shape her future and sacrifices that would leave scars. Because while Goldie built a Hollywood empire, she also began quietly building something else, a very different kind of life, one where happiness, not fame, was still the goal. And that's where things take a turn.
It was something that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to perform, but I never thought I'd ever make my living doing it.
By the time the 1970s rolled around, Goldie Hawn was no longer just the bubbly girl from Laugh-In. She was one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. She was careful with her choices, bouncing between comedies and dramas, proving she had range far beyond her dizzy blonde persona. Audiences adored her in Shampoo, where she held her own alongside Warren Beatty, and critics praised her performance in The Sugarland Express, Steven Spielberg's very first theatrical feature. That film in particular showed that Goldie could carry emotional weight, playing a young mother desperate to reunite with her child. For Spielberg, it launched a legendary directing career, and for Goldie, it added another layer of respect to her resume. But the real turning point, the one that sealed her legacy as more than just an actress, came in 1980 with Private Benjamin. Tired of being offered roles that put women in the background, Goldie decided she was done waiting for better scripts to land on her desk. Instead, she rolled up her sleeves and created one herself. Not only did she star in the movie, but she also served as its executive producer, a bold move for a woman in a business still controlled by men. Private Benjamin told the story of Judy Benjamin, a spoiled socialite who impulsively joins the U.S. Army after her husband dies on their wedding night. The premise could have easily been played for cheap laughs, but Goldie insisted that the film treat Judy's transformation with honesty. That balance of comedy and sincerity struck a chord with audiences everywhere. The movie pulled in nearly $70 million at the box office, an astronomical figure for a female-led comedy at the time. Goldie didn't just prove she could headline a hit, she proved she could build one from the ground up. The Academy took notice too, rewarding her with a nomination for Best Actress. It was the moment Goldie Hawn became more than just a star, she became a force. And yet, even as she was breaking glass ceilings in Hollywood, her personal life was shifting in ways that would define her for decades. On the set of the 1983 film Swing Shift, Goldie reconnected with a face from her past, Kurt Russell. The two had first crossed paths in 1966 while working on a Disney musical when Goldie was 21 and Kurt was just 16. She remembered him as adorable, but too young to take seriously. Nearly 20 years later, that wasn't a problem. The attraction was instant. Their first date has since become Hollywood legend. After a night of swing dancing at the Playboy Club, they sneaked into a home Goldie was in the middle of renovating. The police were called, and the pair ended up explaining themselves in what was probably the least conventional romantic beginning you can imagine. But from that moment, they were inseparable. Together, they blended their families with remarkable grace. Goldie's children from her previous marriage, Kate and Oliver Hudson, grew up alongside Kurt's son, Boston, and the couple welcomed their own child, Wyatt Russell, in 1986. Unlike most celebrity couples who are pressured into tying the knot, Goldie and Kurt famously chose not to marry. Goldie has often said that the decision is precisely why their relationship lasted. "I would be long divorced if I'd been married," she admitted. "Staying together has nothing to do with a piece of paper. It's about waking up and choosing each other, every single day." Their bond gave Goldie something she had always longed for: stability. But even with love and career triumphs, her struggles with anxiety never truly disappeared.
And then I started having panic attacks. I did not feel comfortable. I didn't want to go to Hollywood. I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be a star, certainly.
By the time the 1990s rolled around, Goldie Hawn had already secured her place in Hollywood history. She had given audiences laugh-out-loud comedies like Overboard and The First Wives Club, and she had shown her sharp edge in darker films like Death Becomes Her. She could have easily continued chasing box office hits, signing multi-million-dollar contracts, and remaining at the forefront under the Hollywood spotlight. But instead, she made a choice that shocked both her fans and the industry. She stepped away. It wasn't a dramatic farewell or a formal retirement. Rather, the shift was quiet and subtle. Paparazzi shots from those years tell the story. While other actresses of her caliber were being photographed in couture gowns on red carpets, Goldie was often seen wearing fleece, with her hair still wet from a swim or a shower, looking more like a woman who had just returned from a yoga class than a movie star. She wasn't hiding. She was simply choosing a different kind of life. But this wasn't just about walking away from fame. It was about turning inward, reflecting on what really mattered, and laying the groundwork for something much bigger than another blockbuster movie. The turning point came after one of the darkest days in modern American history, September 11, 2001. Goldie, like millions of others, was glued to the news, horrified by the devastation, the fear, and the sense of vulnerability that swept across the country. But what struck her most deeply wasn't just the attacks themselves. It was the ripple effect they had on children. In the aftermath, studies showed a spike in anxiety, depression, and even thoughts of taking their lives among kids and teenagers. Goldie, who had wrestled with her own mental health challenges since her 20s, found these reports heartbreaking. She remembered reading that the thought of ending one's life had become one of the leading causes of death among children as young as 10 years old. Her reaction was visceral. "Children should be children," she said. "At 10, life should feel like it's just beginning, not like it isn't worth living." That thought ignited something in her. Goldie realized that the very tools that had helped her survive panic attacks and relentless anxiety, therapy, meditation, mindfulness, and her fascination with neuroscience, could be shared with children before they reached a breaking point. If kids could be taught how their brains worked, if they could learn how to calm themselves,